You too. It's Tone back with another one for you. This one here is American jurisprudence. So what we hear is just a couple different annotations associated with different cases. So this would be like the judge's excerpt based on the reason why they made certain rulings and things like that. And this is a good book to get a good understanding about case law and how that works, which is usually referred to as common law or man-made law essentially, right? And so that's going to be based on different rulings in which if you were ever encountered with a certain charge that had already had a trial done and then there was a judgment or ruling made on that particular case and or charge, then you could go ahead and just use that to get straight to the point and reach a resolution faster than having to go through the whole process like you normally would, which would be like a trial of your peers and things like that, and that whole, litigation and all of that. So that that would act as sort of like a speed pass essentially, if you would, right? Which a lot of people actually do utilize this, for issues that they run into, where you know that you were acting lawfully and you have case law to support your position. And so this would be a way to get that done. So we'll get into a little bit of this here. So here we have American jurisprudence, a comprehensive text statement of American case law as developed in the cases and annotations in the annotated report system, being a rewriting of ruling case law to reflect the modern developments of law. So by the editorial staff of the publishers here. And so go ahead and move forward with this. So here it says generally. So clause 329 here. It is a fundamental guarantee of American constitutional government that no person shall be deprived of his liberty without due process of law. Right, and so we just went over a little bit about what that is. So due process of law, because we all do have rights, and a lot of times if we don't know what they are, then we don't have any rights, and we'll go ahead and get steamrolled. And the lawyer not is not necessarily there to help you. Attorney, their whole job is to turn you in, to turn you over. That's pretty much what it is. It's a setup from the jump when you end up in court. All of these people are getting paid from the same place. All their checks are coming from the same place. So it's a setup. It's a setup as soon as you walk in. But they'll go ahead and finesse you. So, the liberty thus guaranteed by the federal and state constitutions is a very broad and extensive concept. Judicial interpretation has given this word, as so used, its most comprehensive signification. It has been said to embrace every form and phase of individual right that is not necessarily taken away by some valid law for common good. In each of its phases, it has its history and connotations. Although the liberty protected by the 14th Amendment consists mainly of vital rights of a citizen as asserted at common law when the Constitution was adopted, it is settled that the liberty, safeguarded by the Due Process Clause, includes protection from violation for any of the fundamental conceptions of justice which lie at the base of our civil and political institutions. And so this is the reason why too, you also want to go ahead and do some research into what a 14th Amendment citizen even is and see if you even qualify to be considered one, right? And so that's all going to be based on contracts that you may enter into, different adhesion contracts. So say you get into a certain type of contract like driver's license or, marriage license and things like that. Those could possibly be an adhesion contract, essentially making you subject to another code of statute that they were not, making you fully aware of, right? And so that also goes into the fraudulent concealment and things like that too as well. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to do research into the different status types and see where you fall into. Most of us being born here, on the American landscape, essentially what we would be as far as what the IRS is considered would be a non-resident alien, essentially meaning that we're not a commercial entity and we're alien because the commercial system is alien to us. So that would make us a non-resident alien. All right. And even the cops agree. You hear them behind me? So yeah, so essentially we're gonna qualify as a non-resident alien as far as what the IRS definition of what somebody born in America would be considered. All right. And then also, since everything is contractual in nature, as far as these systems are concerned, you always want to go ahead and get your contract in place with these individuals and put them on notice prior to coming into contact with them. That way, you already have something on file, and then that would supersede any of the proceedings at that point moving forward. All right. So that's called the promissory estoppel. All right. And so you want to get your contracts already in place, and you want to get your name trademarked and things of that nature as well, so these people cannot be laying claim to anything that is yours, right? Especially to be trying to use it to make money on. So, this concept of liberty contained in the 14th Amendment is constantly enveloping the protection of more and more fundamental rights. The right of liberty, guaranteed by a constitution, includes the right to exist and the right to enjoyment of life while existing, and is invaded not only by a deprivation of life, meaning that they're trying to constrain you, control you, and things of that nature, but also by a deprivation of those things which are necessary to the enjoyment of life according to the nature, temperament, and lawful desires of the individual, right? So meaning that they cannot restrain you from, using an automobile to go to the store or to make a living and to go to work and things like that, unless you are a risk to the public. And then at that point is when you would need to be governed from the outside in. Otherwise, we are all sovereign beings and have the capacity to govern ourselves so long as we're not causing harm to anyone else. Moreover, the principles that embody the essence of the constitutional liberty and security forbid all invasions on the part of the government and its employees of the sanctity of one man's home and the privacy of his life, right? So, unlawful surveillance and things of that nature, gang stalking and shit like that, those are all treasonous acts. Those are all punishable by death as well. Okay. So, in the consideration of liberty guaranteed by the 14th Amendment, one very important exception to usual doctrines must be kept in mind. Although the rule is well settled that a corporation is generally speaking a person within the means of the due process clause of the amendment, it is equally well settled that the liberty guaranteed under this amendment against deprivation without due process of law is a liberty and natural and not artificial persons. Liberty consists partially of the right to be free from arbitrary personal restraint of or servitude. In this sense, it consists largely of freedom from arbitrary what? Let's get to the next page. Arbitrary physical restraint, right? So that would be forced servitude or slavery, where they're holding your body in the place of a debt, right? So essentially, when you go to jail, basically what they're doing is holding your body as collateral until the uh, what do you call until the maturity of that bond is settled, and then at which point you'll be able to be released. Essentially, is at that point would be when the Department of Justice would go ahead and purchase that bond from them, right? So. That's how that all goes. So basically, it's debtors' prisons, and so they're physically restraining your physical body for a fictitious debt, which is, it's just mind blowing. Hence, the detaining by local health authorities without clear and definitive legislation authority of a person suspected of having a venereal disease for the purpose of forcing the exposure of his body to visual examinations and compelling the extraction of blood from his veins in the search of evidence of such disease, which may or may not exist, is a deprivation of liberty without due process of law. Certain services, however, may demand the individual by society without us unconstitutionally depriving him of liberty. He may be required to do certain labors or to furnish a substitute to see that they are done. Essentially, being that they'll let you go do it on your own, so long as they're not forcing you to do it, right? So personal liberty largely consists of the right of locomotion to go where and when one pleases, only so far restrained as the rights of others may take it necessary for the welfare of all other citizens. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile. And so the difference between automobile and a vehicle is that a vehicle is used for commercial use and an automobile is for private use, meaning that you're not a taxi driver, bus driver, train driver, or operator, right? And then otherwise you would be considered a traveler. So so you would be you would be traveling in an automobile if you're not operating in commerce, or you would be driving a vehicle if you were in fact operating in commerce. That's the difference. Uh, is not and one is not a mere privilege. Which one is that? That's traveling in an automobile is not a mere privilege, but it is a right, meaning that these people do not have the right to tell you what you can and can't do as far as that is concerned, because their only jurisdiction lies in regulating commerce. So it is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has under his right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under this constitutional guarantee, one may therefore, under normal conditions, travel at his inclination along the public highways or in public places, and while conducting himself in an orderly and decent manner, neither interfering nor disturbing another's rights, he will be protected not only in his person, but in his safe conduct. The term liberty, as used in the Constitution, is not dwarfed into mere freedom from physical restraint or the person of the citizen, but it is deemed to embrace the right of a man to be free in the enjoyment of the faculties with which he has been endowed by the Creator, subject only to such restraints as are necessary for the common welfare. Meaning that unless you become a risk to the public endangerment, things of that nature, where you're putting other people at risk of bodily harm or threatening their property and damaging property, that's when you're going to need to be governed from the outside in. Otherwise, you have a right to do whatever you want, as the Supreme Court has stated. Right? And so the crazy thing is that, the Supreme Court makes all these rulings and then these people just keep doing whatever the fuck they want, which is just mind blowing again. So, therefore, includes, among others, the right to entertain the belief and to teach the doctrine that war, training for war, and military training are immoral, wrong, and contrary to the precepts of Christianity. The right to worship God according to the dictates of one's own conscience, and the right to acquire useful knowledge, to marry, to establish a home, and bring up children, and generally to enjoy these privileges, long recognized at common law and essential to the orderly pursuit of happiness by free men. It includes the right of the citizen to be free to use his faculties in all ways, to live and to work where he will, to earn his livelihood by any lawful calling, to pursue any livelihood or vocation, and for that purpose to enter into all contracts which may be proper, necessary, and essential to his carrying out of these purposes to a successful conclusion. Within the meaning of the term liberty, Within the meaning of the word liberty, it is also included the right to buy and sell, to select freely such tradesmen as the citizen himself may desire to patronize, to manufacture, to acquire property, to live in a community, to have a free and open market, the right of free speech, of self-defense against unlawful violence, and in general, the opportunity to do these things which are ordinarily done by free men. Many questions concerning the scope of the guarantee of liberty has risen in connection with regulations or litigation pertaining to children has been held that a statutory attempt to confer upon a father the right to grant the custody of his minor children to the exclusion of the supervision of the mother over them violates the constitutional right of mother and child of liberty. Liberty also includes not only the right to establish a home, bring up children, but also the right of the parent to educate his children in such manner as he deems best to secure their happiness and welfare, so long as such training or education does not result in or tend to develop tendencies or traits dangerous to society. Therefore, requiring all children between the ages of 8 and 16 to attend the public schools unconstitutionally interferes with the liberty of parents and guardians to direct the upbringing and education of children under their control. right? And so, at what point are these people obligating everyone to entertain their educational systems? You know what I mean? Which are obsolete and outdated at this point, in my personal opinion. Nevertheless, there is no unconstitutional restraint upon liberty or infringement upon happiness in depriving a child the mere privilege of securing an education at the expense of the state until he is willing to submit all reasonable regulations enacted for the purpose of permitting efficiency and maintaining discipline. Forbidding pupils in a public school to affiliate with a fraternal society without the sanction of the school authorities does not unconstitutionally interfere with their personal rights. If the parents fail to perform their natural duty to rear and educate the child so that it may be useful, intelligent, and moral, but permit it to become vicious and a menace to the rest of society, the state may permit it to become vicious. Uh, the state may assert its power as parents or patri, and apply curative measures in order to attempt to rectify such a condition. It is well settled that to submit a delinquent child to proper restraint and guardianship does not deprive him of liberty without due process of law. Meaning that, there would have to be a hearing and a administrative process done, and also, at the end, have it judged by a jury of your peers, right? So it's not going to be at any point left up to any one individual person and their personal opinion. It would have to be judged by a jury of your peers. So, ultimately at the end of the day, you do have rights, but until you start, doing your due diligence, which is your research into what the law is, you're never really going to understand what's going on around you. And the more that you start to dig and do your research, you're going to see that a lot of these people are stepping way out of bounds and are not in line with what their initial oath was that they had taken initially, which was to uphold the Constitution. They're doing some whole other shit. All right. So it is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.